This is part 2 of a video I made last week, which is around how the rich get richer by actually having access to tax-free money. If you're interested in this video, definitely go check out the first one, which you can check out here, because none of this will make sense. And in this video, we're going to talk about how the rich not only earn tax-free income and why the rich actually don't have plans to pay off their debt early. In fact, they can pay it off a lot quicker than most people can while still retiring early and enjoying tax-free income. If you're interested in this video and my whiteboard drawings, then definitely keep watching. Hey guys, my name's Ravi and welcome back to Personal Finance with Ravi Sharma. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button because I talk about real estate, cryptocurrency, and financial freedom. Now, in a second here, we're gonna go and share my whiteboard screen and I'm gonna walk you through how the rich not only earn the income, which we did in part 1, but we wanna now figure out all of that debt that they've now accumulated with their portfolio. What are they actually doing with it? How do you actually retire on your own terms? Because if you have debt, aren't you still answerable to people? So let's go and break that down now. So this is part 2, which is paying off the debt. Now in part 1, which you can check out with the link in the description below and the pinned comment, and in that video we spoke about how to earn $90,000 to $100,000 a year, so definitely go check out that video on that one. But what we established was that a portfolio of say $2 million was about what you needed, and then your approximate debt at 90% was about $1.8 million. So this is where we're at now. Now I want to jump into how normal people go ahead and pay down their debt over time. And what that would look like is in this graph. So in a normal situation, you've got time here and you've got value on the side. So value on this axis goes 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, and then across here is 5, 10, and 15 years. None of this is to scale because who cares about scale? Let's figure out the real juice in this. Now, here in the blue line is what your expected value is of the portfolio. So over here, you've got the value of $2 million, and over time, we should see that increase. Now, of course, none of this is linear, and you'll have some years where you outperform the market, some years it'll actually underperform. But what we're suggesting is in about 15 years, we should see on average, the value of this portfolio double in value. Now, it could happen even earlier than that, depending on where you've purchased. In this red line, what we've got is the debt that you've accumulated. And what you do is in the beginning, as you're buying all of these properties, you're taking on more debt, and then what happens is your debt stays the same. If you choose to go interest only for the life of the loan, moving forward, over the following 10-year period from here to here, your debt's gonna stay the same. You're not paying any of the debt principal, you're only paying the interest, the cost of borrowing. But what we're still seeing is our values increase, which means our equity position has increased. And that's what happens over time, where people go, well, I'm not actually paying down my debt, but my value of property portfolio is increasing. And as that is increasing, I've got more equity and I could choose to now increase my debt by taking out some of that equity to then purchase more properties. Or in this case, what we are normally thinking is how do we pay down our debt? And if it takes 30 years, okay, great. How do I do it in 25 years? And so what a lot of people do is they use a lot of their discretionary income on paying extra towards their mortgage. Now, right now, interest rates are so high. So a lot of people are going, let me pay down as much as I possibly can because I'm not sure how long interest rates will remain at this point. I also don't know if I can pay it in the future, so I just want to pay it down as quickly as possible. I don't want mortgage stress, and it is one of the biggest stresses people have. And I remember a couple of years ago when interest rates are so low, people were actually doubling down and paying their loans off quicker because they're saying, well, maybe these rates don't stick around for too long. So why not take advantage and pay as much as I can now so I don't have that problem later on? Now, in theory, this sounds pretty good. And for most people, this is the solution. If you found yourself not being able to save or invest and you don't actually want to be active in the market, then paying down your loan is probably going to make the most sense, to be honest, but it's not how the rich get richer. The real wealthy people are doing it differently. And that's just a numbers game, right? If you had everyone doing this, then of course everyone would be wealthy. Only a minority of the population actually do this next part. Now we're calling it the tax-free strategy because that's how we were earning the income, right? We were earning it in debt. But now that we've got the debt, what does that actually look like? So similar to the first example, $4 million is what we expect the value to be in 15 years. But in this case, we're seeing our debt actually increase over time. Now, although it doesn't increase in line with our actual value, it does taper off. That's because we aren't able to borrow 100% of the equity. In addition to that, you don't need 100% of the equity every single year. If your ongoing expenses are $90,000, why would you now go and borrow $100,000? You'd just go, I want $90,000, that's it. And so over time, you're going to realize as the value of your portfolio grows, the percentage growth actually equals a larger amount in dollar figure. You don't need to go and borrow 3% of the portfolio value. You might only need 1 1% of the portfolio value as an example. So what we will see is this portion here of equity is much lower than in the first example, because in this example, we're taking on that debt every single year. So on surface value, the first example, which is the normal way of doing things, looks like it's going to outperform this way. But there are a few differences, and that's what we're going to dive into. So what are the average people doing? Now, I'm not saying average is bad. I'm just saying this is what most people are doing. And I would go on to argue that peace of mind and sleep at night factor are more important. So if you're watching this and saying, well, I do what normal people do, but it allows me to sleep at night and I'm okay with that and I still get to enjoy the life that I live, fantastic, that's what you should be doing. But if you're someone that goes, well, I still want to get ahead, I'm hungry, I want to do what the rich do, I want to create wealth for my family long term, then you're probably looking at what the average people are doing and do the opposite. So what are average people doing? They're paying down the debt, right? Because we got taught debt is bad. Doesn't matter if it's good, doesn't matter if it's bad. In my head, all debt is bad. That's how average people are working. Then you've got average people maximizing their cash. So they're saying, well, I don't care if I invest in other things. I have my home, it's going to grow in value. All I want to do is pay down the debt and I want to maximize the amount of cash I have in my bank account. Now, if you want an emergency fund, for some people it might be 20K, for some 50K. But I know some people that have 2 to 3 years worth of savings there and they will not touch that. And they say that's their emergency fund. Now, it's not my place to judge because at the end of the day, I'm a guy sitting in my room talking to myself in front of a camera, hoping that you guys listen. So I'm not here to judge and I can't give you that sort of financial advice anyway. So what you've got to figure out, is that important to me? If I have 2 years worth of expenses covered in my bank account, am I going to be happy? And if it is, then so be it. But if you're someone also trying to aggressively grow your portfolio, having 2 to 3 years worth of funds in your account is just going to slow down the whole process. The other thing that people like to do is minimize their LVR positions. As the portfolio increases in value, the LVR position naturally will drop down because your debt stays the same. But if you're paying down your debt, your actual LVR position, the equity position that you have in that property, is a lot higher. So that's what we were looking at in this example, is if you just left your debt the same, your equity position will still increase. But if you start suddenly decreasing this debt, and you're increasing the value of the property, then you've got more equity available to you. And that is what most people are trying to do. If I have some surplus funds, I'm going to pay down the debt. So if the debt's coming down and the value's going up, I'm maximizing the LVR position. But what are the rich doing and why do they actually win? What they're interested in is more wealth and more income. They don't care about debt. Yes, debt is a portion that you need to consider as part of your P&L. You're looking at what are my liabilities, what are my expenses, what is the cost of borrowing. But at the end of the day, those things are all just little cogs in a bigger piece. What I'm looking at is how do I grow my wealth, which is increase my asset value, and how do I increase my income? Those two things are the most important when it comes to the rich and how they grow. And by having this mindset, they actually grow a lot faster and they can take on significantly more risk because they can actually reduce their debt a lot faster later on as well. So it's almost sounding like the rich have got it figured out. But of course, this takes time to get your mindset equipped with taking on more debt to actually grow rather than taking a safety net approach, being more defensive, and perhaps you've got other responsibilities in your life that cause you to think that way. And again, everyone's different. If you're someone at 22, your responsibilities are far less than someone who's 35 and got kids. So let's look at an example of how these two things would play out. Now, in 10 years time, the value of the portfolio, let's say, is $4 million. We're assuming in 10 years, the properties double in value. Now, if you took the normal approach, your debt would actually be about $1.5 million. So you started at 1.8 and you've probably paid down 300K worth of debt. So your LVR position's at 37.5%. Now, in the rich case, again, still same portfolio, the rich have now got debt worth $2.6 million and their LVR position is 65%. So right now, it's seeming like the normal debt strategy is the best one. In 20 years time, your value of the portfolio goes to $7 million. And in the normal debt strategy, your debt is now paid down to $1 million. So now your LVR position's only 14%. The rich with their strategy are up to now $3.6 million. Their LVR position is 51%. So you're sort of going, well, this all sounds like the normal way to pay down debt makes the most sense. But there is a difference, and the difference is that you can sell to pay down your debt. What I mean by this is instead of having to put a portion of your wealth, a portion of your income and discretionary income to paying down your debt over time, what the rich are doing is they're focusing on saying, well, I can maximize how much in terms of assets I have, and then I have more choice to then sell down a portion of my portfolio and pay off the debt whenever I like. And this gives me maximum choice. I'm going to show you why. The normal way of paying down debt means you're struggling. There are no tax-free income solutions here. There are no other investments because all you're doing is extra income you have, you pay towards the loan and you retire in 20 years. Now, this is if everything goes well. You retire in 20 years. If you just have the one property worth $2 million and you pay it down, well, you'll have a house paid off in 20 years, but you have no other income. So that means you're probably still working for another 10 years to accumulate the funds that you need to actually retire. Whereas the rich, because they're using what I explained in part one, tax-free income, they're enjoying life. They can go on holidays, they can do what they like. They're maximizing their income because if they're taking the tax-free income versus someone taking on after-tax income, the tax-free income has more purchasing power, which means I can go and invest the portion I was going to pay in tax and I can use the rest for my everyday life. They also have multiple sources of income. Now they may go and buy shares, so they get dividends from there. They might buy more properties. They can get income from there. They can do a range of other things like getting into businesses as well. And they retired 20 years ago. So why do I say they retired 20 years ago? Well, they're still probably going to work, but now they have choice to work in whatever they like. And by actually taking on the tax-free income, they retired 20 years ago because they did all the hard work in producing the assets they needed in their portfolio. Now that they've got the portfolio, they can now drip feed all that tax-free income every year, do what they want to do, and that to me is the definition of being financially free. If you no longer have to work in a job that you don't like because it pays you well then that's it. You're always going to do something. Whether you're retired at 65 or you're retired at 35, you're always going to be actually doing something with your time. So you may as well do something that you enjoy, and chances are, if you do something that you enjoy, you're probably going to be really good at it and you'll find a way to monetize it. And that's what the rich are doing, which then means that yes, the normal debt strategy leads to more net equity assets, but the work-life balance is very important. You have this for 20 years before anyone does in the normal debt strategy. Plus, if you've invested that tax-free income, you've diversified your portfolio. So not everything is sitting in just property. You're looking at alternatives. You're looking at new ways to increase your wealth. You're looking at how do I increase my income, diversifying that income and portfolio. And this is why the rich focus on growth and not debt. Debt is a very important part to accelerate this entire plan. And the stuff I talk about in this video is probably not relevant to 99% of people. But if you're sitting there, honestly, on a couch, or you're watching this on your phone and saying, why does it feel like there's still so much money around? Why is it that people can go out there buy 10, 15, $20 million homes while I struggle to even save enough for my first home at 700K? There is a big divide. And yes, there's a portion of people that are inheriting that money from somewhere else. But for a majority of the rich, they got rich off the back of what they were doing themselves. Having this mindset may not land you a $20 million portfolio, but boy, does it get you close. And that is why mindset and surrounding yourself with the right people, educating yourself with the right things is going to be so key. Because I can tell you now, if you ask the 5 people closest to you, hey, should I pay down my debt or take on more debt because there's a tax-free strategy, they're going to choose the first one. And that is why the rich get richer, because there's such a minority of people actually doing it, because it takes courage and confidence to actually implement something like that. I'm not saying it's for everyone, but I thought I'd educate you guys anyway. If you've enjoyed this video, smash that like button and comment down below what you guys want to see next, because I told you I'd follow through. If you left the comments, and I think I got over 200 comments on that video, that you wanted part 2. I'm not sure what part 3 looks like, but tell me in the comments down below part 3 and what you'd like to see in that one. Hope you guys have enjoyed this one. I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks guys.